We want to be respectful for your time, so if everyone will kindly be seated, we are ready to begin our program.
He's a graduate student.
You think there were, registration almost? Ready, Freddie?
It is awesome.
I'd say just let's start. They're quiet now. Is it okay? Yeah. Okay, let's go. Good noontime, everyone, and welcome to the State of the City Address for Brownsville, Texas. My name is Ron Oliveira, and I will be serving as your Master of Ceremonies this afternoon. And my job is to keep this program moving so we can listen to all the presenters, share our thoughts, and then get you all back to work at a reasonable time. Remember those words, reasonable time. Okay? We have an exciting program for you today that we hope will spark an ongoing conversation about our city's future. But before we get started, I'd like to invite to the stage Monsignor Bert Diaz to lead us off with the benediction.
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Almighty and eternal God, you have revealed your glory to all the nations. God of power and might, wisdom and justice, through your authority is rightly administered laws are enacted and judgment is decreed. We ask in a very special way, we pray for our governor of the state of Texas, for the members of the legislature, for the judges, elected civil officials, most importantly for our mayor and the city commission, especially on this state of the city, and for our very beautiful city of Brownsville, and all others who are entrusted to guard and our political welfare. May they be enabled by your powerful protection to discharge their duties with honesty and ability. We likewise commend to your unbounded mercy all citizens of the United States and of our city, that we may be blessed in the knowledge and sanctified in the observance of your holy law. May we be preserved in union, that the peace which the world cannot give, and for enjoying the blessings of this life, be admitted to those which are eternal. And we pray in a special way for the food that we are about to partake. We pray to you, who are Lord and God, forever and ever. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Monsignor, for that benediction. Please remain standing if you could also, because we're going to welcome right now the ROTC Army Color Guard from the University of Texas, Brownsville for the presentation of colors. Please welcome to the stage also, as the ROTC remains standing to lead us in the national anthem, we're honored to have the award-winning 65-member Hannah High School Varsity Men's Choir.
Say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave a proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Please take your seats. Another big round of applause, please, for the Hannah Men's Choir and the ROTC Army Color Guard from the University of Texas. As a few more people get to their seats, we'd also like to turn your attention to some of the screens, too, in just a moment to acknowledge some of our sponsors, our very generous sponsors who are making today happen. I'd like to recognize our platinum sponsor, the PUB. Big round of applause for PUB. Thank you, PUB. And after our program went to print, we're also grateful for the sponsorship of HEB. Thank you, HEB. In addition, we have listed our gold and silver sponsors, and how about a big round of applause to all of them on your screen right now. Joining us today are also a group of youth ambassadors from the Brownsville School District. If you all could please stand and be recognized. There they are. Many students here. We want to thank Chick-fil-A for generously providing their lunches. Be right back. And several of our elected officials are kindly with us today. Will the folks from the city of Harlingen stand up and be recognized? Here we are. Thank you. The Mexican consulate. The city of San Benito. Our Congressman, Filemon Vela. The city of Matamoros. Art Rendon, TSC trustee. Francisco Rendon, TSC board chair. Brownsville School District trustee, Kathy Perez. Brownsville City Commissioner, Rose Gowan. Brownsville City Commissioner, Jessica Tetro. Commissioner John Villarreal. I know your hands are getting tired. I only have about 85 more. No, I'm kidding. Just a few more. Commissioner Deborah Portillo. Representative Eddie Lucio III. Rodolfo Quilantan Arenas of the Mexican Consulate again. The city of San Benito was represented one more time. Mayor Celeste Sanchez, I'm so sorry I didn't say your name. Thank you again. And from the city of Matamoros, Mayor Leti Salazar. Leti, one more time, please. David Bentoncourt, County Treasurer. Dan Sanchez, Cameron County Commissioner. Carlos Elizondo, BISD Trustee. Ralph Cowan, Port Commission Chair, who caught that big redfish that he posted on Facebook the other day. John Wood, the Port of Brownsville. Minerva Peña, BISD President. And besides the Monsignor, also reminding me that today is Ash Wednesday, our Sheriff, Omar Lucio. Ash Wednesday. There are so many people involved in Brownsville's progress, and what makes this work is a spirit of collaboration, as we all know. Lunch will now be served, I believe, and in just a minute, we will be joined with the State of City Address by our Mayor, Tony Martinez. So enjoy.
Yeah. It's good to see you, yeah. Yeah, I know, Ruth.
Good. All right, good.
Is Debbie okay?
All right, continue to have your lunch, but everybody smile. Let's get a picture for Facebook. There we go. All right, thank you. We're going to go ahead and continue with our program right now. Continue to have lunch, but if I could have your attention, please. Please welcome to the stage the Mayor of Brownsville, Texas, Mr. Tony Martinez, with the State of the City.
I want to tell you all that it makes my heart sing to see so many people here. We've spent a little bit of time over the last 3.5 years trying to make sure that we do a good job for you. And the fact that you're here and have given us your support, all the sponsors, all the people that have done their part in trying to make Brownsville a better place, I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Monsignor Burt left before because he had other commitments, obviously. But I wanted to tell him that when we set this meeting up, we had no idea it was going to be Ash Wednesday. And so I told him when he came up here to give his benediction that to look out into the audience, and if you didn't see those little black spots on top of your forehead, that you guys would be there this afternoon. Don't worry about it, right? But anyway, it was a lot of effort that goes into trying to put something like this together. So the fact that you're here warms my heart. And I know that some of the commissioners, I know that Debbie's father's here, and she obviously took ill after our meeting. I'm not sure what I said last night, but anyway. Now, whether they're here or not, I wanted to recognize them. I know that Rose Gown is here. Jessica, I don't know whether Jessica's here or not, but Jessica and John Villarreal, Rick Longoria, all of those folks have been instrumental in getting the things done that we had to do. Last night, I was kind of heartened by John Villarreal, commissioner, and he and Rick Longoria had worked out with the consul from Matamoros, so that allowed some of the folks that were here in Brownsville as legal residents to be able to matriculate, in essence, to be able to use the library, the computers, both at the Central Avenue as well as the one out at Southmost. But John started off his comments to the public by saying, you know, we've had a really good time trying to work together. So that was also a thing that that we need to kind of continue. But I'm going to go ahead and some of the remarks that, of course, are prepared. I didn't realize I was not going to have a podium, but we'll make do. So if I stumble a little bit, bear with me, because I've got a lot of other little cheat sheets here, and we'll go through it. But as we gather here to reflect and to give thanks and to recommit ourselves to the notion that, as Robert F. Kennedy told us many years ago, the future is not a gift, but it's an achievement. It's in our hands, and we are blessed to have a city with so many talented and giving people. For years, we've taken the pride that, of course, we are very geographically well located. But I tell you, after 3.5 years in this office, it's not about the location, it's about you. It's about the blessing of our people. I can't tell you how many countless times I have talked to people, whether it's on airplanes, meetings, or whatever, and they all say, you know, Brownsville just has beautiful people. And I not only believe it, I know it, and I feel it in my heart at all times. So give yourself a round of applause. You know, the things that we are going to talk about today, and again, I had promised everybody here that we will not do like last time and go overboard with our time, because I know that a lot of folks have a lot of things to do. But, you know, the reason that we're here is you want to hear a little bit about what we've done. Well, I would be remiss in telling you that this is what I've done, because I haven't done anything. What we did was we, together with a lot of folks in this room, build on the achievements of those who came before us, a lot of those that are no longer with us, a lot of who are really out there sitting in the spots that you are the reasons that we're here and we're able to give this kind of report. We have realized that as time goes through, that we continue to learn that there are no limits to what we can accomplish as long as we do it together. You know, Brownsville has always been more than a team. And obviously, the way we try to conduct our business is we're a family. We try to get together and we try to be more uniters than dividers. And because we're working together like never before, I'm proud to tell you that the state of the city is strong and the opportunities for Brownsville have never looked brighter. So that is a tribute to y'all. I'm going to point to a couple of signs of economic growth that are all around us. The report was given to us at our city meeting a couple of months ago, or about a month ago. Our unemployment is down. The sales tax receipts are up. The building permit values are up, increased over 14% from last year. The Veterans Bridge revenues are up 26% just in this first quarter. And you know, if some of you read the paper the other day, our airlines have reached historic heights in employments. And as we speak, last week, at the 12th, I believe, of February, we inaugurated a flight that leaves at 4 o'clock to go to DFW. And we'll get you there in time to connect you with about 150 cities around the United States. So I think that's a great tribute to our airport management. You know, we do know this, is that when we mind our finances, like all of you that are business people, we mind our future. But this is more than just about statistics. It's more about sales, tax receipts, or building permits. This is about ensuring that our children have no limits to what they dream. And just as important, that the farther the dreams take them doesn't mean they have to leave any further than Brownsville. Brownsville is increasingly the land of opportunity and not just the land of dreams. All of us have spoken about this, all of us have thought about this. But remember, SpaceX is a prime example of what we can do together. 2 years ago when we gathered, and we had yet to receive final word, but we knew we were in the running to get SpaceX. Today, SpaceX has broken ground. They're hiring people, just as they said they would, and they're having a vendor fair this very month in this very place that you're sitting on. So when we talk about a dream, we now talk about a reality. It is now here. And when we talk about SpaceX, we talked about SpaceX in many different ways. We talked about, well, we're going to have something to go to the space station to deliver things to the International Space Station. But if some of you have been keeping in touch with some of the things that are going on, SpaceX and Boeing have now both been contracted. They both received $1 million grants from NASA, and that will result that they no longer have to write checks to the Russian space program to transport our astronauts. We're going to actually have manned flights. And so what happens is there's no more hitchhiking to the space station. We're going to do it with our own people, with our own astronauts, with our own spaceships, and Brownsville is where it's going to go from. So, but as I sit here and think about that, which to me is a little bit overwhelming sometimes. But, you know, SpaceX coming to Brownsville was never a given. It took an incredible amount of teamwork, collaboration, nurturing, planning, and some old-fashioned what they call grit and ganas. And much of that credit goes to the leadership of the Brownsville Economic Development Corporation. I am here, I went to a meeting there just yesterday, but I wanted to publicly make known that the leadership of Jason Hiltz and Gil Salinas, the entire board and the entire membership is due and owing a great round of applause for SpaceX. And while there's been a change in the governorship in the state of Texas, I would be remiss if we also didn't thank the Governor Perry for his commitment and the commitment of the Texas Enterprise Fund. Besides those two entities, you know, I don't know whether Phil is here, but we needed, you might say, the congressman, an act of Congress from Phil Vela. We needed Senator Lucio. We needed Representative Oliveira. We needed Eddie III. And so, again, we've already announced all the people that have been are elected officials, but to those we owe a great debt of gratitude, and we should give them a round of applause. And as we engage in the initial conversations with SpaceX, one of the first questions they had when we were out at Hawthorne, and they already knew the answer, but they said, "Do you have a university?" And so we said, "Yes, we do." And so I see that Bill Fannin, our interim president, Dr. Guy Bailey, Dr. Julieta Garcia, who is not here, but you know, without the university, we may or may not have gotten to SpaceX. But to even booster that even a little bit further, without the university and without Stargate, we may not have gotten SpaceX. And so what SpaceX represents more than just a launch pad for rockets, and it's actually a launch pad for Brownsville. It puts Brownsville in the mix of the aerospace industry and the exciting research and jobs that come with it. Later on in the program, sitting over there, you're going to see 3 young men, and you're going to hear from them. 2 of them are undergraduates, and 1 is a graduate student at the Stargate project. Now, a lot of you may know what Stargate is all about. And I thought I did when I first heard Stargate. Well, it's the gate to the stars. But Stargate stands for Spacecraft Tracking Astronomical Research into Gigahertz Astrophysical Transient Emission. Sure, I know, you all knew that, right? Seriously, think about it for a minute. This started in a conversation, a pipe dream, and I remember it as if it were yesterday. You know, we went at the BEDC at their offices over at the Migoland Mall. Now, it exploded into astronomical research and gigahertz astrophysical transient emissions. That's a wow. But it only goes to show you that it's not where you start, but where you're going. And I remember, that Stargate was sort of a dream. It was going on. The astrophysicist department was going on. But today, it's now connected with an exciting public-private partnership with the University Center for Advanced Radio Astronomy. And they're developing new radio frequency-based technologies for both academic and commercial uses. So let's see how this got started. About 3 years ago, Dr. Rick Janae and Alma and myself went to the BEDC and said, you know what, we need seed money. And they said, well, what do you want? Well, we need $500,000 to get this thing started. And BEDC in their wisdom said, well, if SpaceX comes, you guys can have the seed money. Well, thank God space came. SpaceX came, and with it, a whole lot of other opportunities. Because out of that first $500,000 that your Brownsville Economic Development Corporation invested in us, they have now pole vaulted that into over $8 million, and Irv Downing can attest to it, a payoff of over 15 times the original investment, and that, to me, is what it means to believe in Brownsville. You know, I said before, without Stargate, without the university, and this is not an exaggeration, there may not have been a SpaceX in Brownsville. But again, it's not about me and it's not about the Brownsville Economic Development Corporation. It's actually about those 3 young men that you're going to hear from today. So I'm going to ask those 3 young men who I had the pleasure of visiting with over the weekend to get us ready for today. Would you guys 3 please stand up? You might sit down. They'll be introduced, but the reason that I asked them to stand up and they'll come in and visit with you in just a little bit is because that kind of gives me the segue, is that one of them is from Porter, the other one is from Rivera, and the other one is from St. Joe. So they're all local talent. And you see, when I talk to you, and if you look at the little boxes in front of you, we're talking about the future, and that happens to be our future. But I wanted to kind of recognize BISD in their efforts and recognize that what they're doing, not only today, but Dr. Montoya, the board that was there previously and is now in a transit state of doing other things with an interim superintendent. They had the vision to, first of all, they said, we're going to have a slogan. And their slogan, and they got their buttons everywhere, all throughout this town, and you see them on the billboards, believe in BISD. And I think that that's appropriate. But more so than that, they not only believe in BISD, they're acting on it. And the announcement was made probably about 3 weeks ago. BISD this fall will be launching the Space Academy, which will be dedicating their students to science, math, technology, and engineering, getting ready for the space industry. So I think that we owe them a debt of gratitude and a round of applause. I think what that translates to me is, as we as a city are aiming higher, we're taking all of our young people with us. And that uplifting feeling that you're receiving when you see these young people, whether they be in the choir, they be young ambassadors back there, is that it tells you one thing. You can break those chains of those who say you can't do things. And you join the broader spectrum of people who say, just give us a chance. That's what all these kids are asking for. You know, if Elon Musk can figure out how to get rockets into space from Boca Chica Beach, well, then we can figure out how we can move a train track from the old Brownsville Matamoros Bridge 15 miles up the river, how to double the runway at the airport, how to complete the dream of the East Loop that was envisioned by city leaders many years ago. In essence, we're building a coordinated infrastructure that puts Brownsville and our entire region at the center of trade and commerce. Let's start with the West Rail. That's one of those projects that's been around for a while, but I think I saw Pete Sepulveda back there in the back. Pete, good to see you. Last time I saw him was at the 79th meeting of the West Rail Technical Group. Right, Letty? 79 meetings. So you can just imagine that's 14 years plus. The council was there. But it's been over 10 years since the presidential approval. But today, you know, as much as we think we can't get things done, we are going to get things done. And we're here to tell you that Moses may not have gotten to the promised land, but Brownsville and Cameron County will. And I see George over there. I saw your construction company. We have all the intentions of the world to get that opened up within the next 3 months. So for all those county officials who had everything to do it, a round of applause for them. And it sounds good rhetoric, but there's a good reason why we're committed to seeing this through. It is estimated that the rail traffic hauls under NAFTA will increase from 6% to 35% of the total trade flow. And the West Rail moves cargo traffic away from our neighborhoods, our roads, and opens the economy up for more trade and more jobs. We benefited from the increase in bridge revenues, less congestion, more tourism, and the ability to redevelop an 8-mile stretch inside the city where IDEA schools have already broken ground. So some of you who have been involved in city activities know that there has been a long time when people have looked about 6th and 7th Street, about how to break down the levee, how to move the railroad. Well, all that is back on the playing board, and will have the chance to be able to get completed because that is in our future. Now, moving on to the airport. While SpaceX rockets won't be taking off from the Brownsville airport, satellites and research equipment from all over the world need a place to land. And that's why, is Larry Brown around here? I think I saw Larry, there you go. His leadership at the airport and his drive to double the size of the runway to allow the kind of commerce SpaceX can bring us is critical. And as Larry well knows, and this is no small task, this is going to require a lot of capital. It's going to be capital intensive and will require major financing. But when we got SpaceX, what people like Larry know was the FAA said, you know, if you bring us a letter of interest that you're going to need your runway doubled, then we'll start taking a look at you seriously. So supporting the airport, and Larry, you well know this, is that I consider redoing the airport and doubling the runway one of our top priorities for our city in this next year. You know, I said earlier that we are the beneficiaries of those who came before us. And one of those projects is the East Loop. You know, some of us that probably weren't involved and didn't realize this. The East Loop has been on the books for over 30 years. And I see Jim Tipton shaking his head. This was probably his idea 30 years ago. Not that you're that old, Jim. But you know, it's one thing if you have a plan but you don't implement it. But it's greater to have a plan and get it done. And so even though that's been on for 30 years, it's probably going to take us a little while, Jim, to get that done. But that is something that's the reason why I bring the Hannah Choir, the young ambassadors. It can be done during our time, but it has to be carried on by that generation. You know, among the mayor's responsibilities, for some of you who might not know, I have the pleasure of sitting as the chairman of the Metropolitan Planning Organization. commonly known as the MPO. And Mark Lund is here. That is, he's the head of the MPO, and all of these things that I've been talking about are things that the MPO does to make sure that the roads are planned for the future within our city, and that's what we're talking about. We're talking about rail, we're talking about roads, and we're talking about runways. We've been talking about this for a while, but I think now it's time to look at it in a realistic and futuristic way. How do we connect the Port of Brownsville, the airport, and SpaceX? A coordinated public-private investment that has been envisioned by this people in this room and by many who came before us to position our community for greater economic opportunity. Working together as a family has never, ever been more important for Brownsville. And so, and again, it would be wrong for me to say, hey, this is something I envisioned somewhere along the line in some dream. This came about by many of you who are sitting here who were part and parcel of Imagine Brownsville. So, I want to congratulate Mike Gonzalez. We were up at Brownsville Day up at the legislature, but that is the effort. That position came about because of the folks who dedicated their time, their effort, the town hall meetings to Imagine Brownsville and became United Brownsville. So as we go forward, what United Brownsville did was help break down the silos, encourage collaboration, and from that original Imagine Brownsville, people from that organization have taken the ball and run with it. And we owe them a round of applause as well. And to add to the equation, there's another project that everybody's been talking about, or should have been talking about, but it came about through the leadership of John Brujak, his team, Fernando and Leandro, the various members who sat on the board, and some of who are with us here today. But the Tenasca project is something that was needed and is wanted and will dramatically increase the capacity of our electrical grid. In order for us to attract industry and high-paying jobs in Brownsville, we have to do this. Our forward progress also owes a debt of gratitude to those folks that came before the board that was there, that envisioned and saw what needed to be done. Along with PUB and that board, we have to also take our hat off to the board out there at the port. Ralph and all your board members and your director, Eddie Campirano. Again, people don't always understand that in order for us to get ahead, we have to plan that port to be able to bring larger ships that carry today's cargo. And they've been working really diligently, and I know our engineer right there from the port, that they all participate in the MPO and do a great job, and without their help, we wouldn't be able to even talk about Tenasca, because what happens is we got to work the port, the PUB, the BEDC, and the city are all paving the way. We're now talking to international investment in steel refinement and high-end manufacturing. 2 years ago we talked about SpaceX, and look at it, it's here today. Today we talk about the prospect and planning for high-end manufacturing, and knowing the team as well as I do, and the strong working relationships, I think in the very near future, we'll be welcoming more new employers and high-paying jobs to Brownsville, Texas. Let me tell you a little bit more about why I'm so confident. Tenasca, in its efforts to get here, one of the hardest things to do is to get an EPA greenhouse gas permit. And if you noticed, about a month ago, the greenhouse gas permit to Tenasca Brownsville Generating Station was awarded for 800 megawatts. And this is a terrific step for the city of Brownsville. This has been a major undertaking. It's going to cost close to $1 billion, and it will not only serve consumers, but it's going to give you the type of commerce that will elevate the quality of life for our entire community. You know, one of the things that has created some problems is to get the industrial growth, forgive us, and has been because of the energy infrastructure to support it. Now that barrier has been removed. The EPA regional administrator said in a statement that this project takes advantage of our clean burning natural gas resources and credited the company's management team for its stewardship of Texas' invaluable historical landmarks, which was including the Palo Alto Battlefield Park. So again, kudos goes to all those who envisioned that project and saw the courage to see it through. Second reason for my confidence is based on water. You know, meteorologists have been warning us for some time that Texas is in the midst of a major drought. Communities they're fighting over water. Texas voters even went to the polls to tap state reserves to catch up on our water infrastructure. Any farmer can tell you without water, there is no growth. And that not only goes for communities and businesses, but it goes for everything that needs to grow. But let me tell you one thing, and I'm going to assure you of this. Here in the southmost tip of Texas, Brownsville may be the city in Texas and probably in the United States with the most secure water resources for the future. We're the only city with a desal plant. The Resaca dredging restoration project led by PUB not only will increase our protection against floods, but it will increase our storage capacity and water quality as well. They said, well, let me tell you an interesting story about the Resaca dredging project because it touches on another barrier, one that is only in our minds. It's an erroneous belief that somehow we, as citizens of this region or Brownsville, are not worthy of great things and are not entitled to the full blessings of this land. So as we dredged the Resacas, the process was slowed down time and time again because we pulled up out of the trash over 200 used tires. And many people grew up in this community fishing in the Resacas, water skiing on the Resacas, or simply enjoying the nature and wildlife they attract. The Resacas, as I have said many times, are part of Brownsville's gift from God. So I hope dredging and removing the tires and the trash also dredges some psychological barriers. I also think that as we clear our Resacas, let's clear our mind. Let's hit the reset button. We deserve all the opportunities this world has to offer. Our children deserve it. And today we recommit ourselves to safeguarding our natural resources and doing what it takes to make our future the achievement we dreamed of. So just the things that I can go on, but I'm going to be close to closing up in just a minute, but I do want to give you a couple more things to think about. You know, Texas Southmost College has stepped up to the plate. They're showing the needed leadership for identifying the gaps in a skilled, employable workforce industry needs. You know, welding has been a high priority of needs in this town. AmPhils right now has been partnering up with TSC to help overcome the obstacle to growth. So we have to credit the TSC board, Kiko, all the people, and I think I saw President Lily Tercetto and her team, because if you noticed again in the news, it was 7 people graduated out of the welding program. Now one of them was a young lady who was interviewed and she said, I may not be a welder for life, but it's going to help me to where I want to go in some time in my life. So I'd like to offer a round of applause to the TSC board and to Lily Tercetto. It's not just enough to get an education, you've got to get a job. So when you're ensuring graduates are job ready for the jobs in demand, then we're doing our job. As I look around here, I see a lot of accomplished people, and you can look around yourself and you can see that we have a lot of people who have done a lot of great things. But great people are also very competitive. And I likewise, I've been known to be a little bit competitive. But I'm reminded here that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. One of my favorite athletes is Michael Jordan, and he says, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence wins championships. So we have to go beyond winning games to the real goal of winning championships, which means we got to work as a team. You know, another thing is that some of you folks have been very instrumental in is this binational understanding that we have. Unfortunately, our mayor from Harlingen, Chris Boswell, couldn't be here, but he sent one of his representatives, so thank you for coming. But my other good colleague is Leticia, the alcaldesa, Leti Salazar from Matamoros. So let's give her a round of applause. And for some of you, and I understand that I didn't get a chance to take a look at what was being videotaped on the side here, but we were in a meeting, and Brownsville is a proud partner with Harlingen and Matamoros in a regional effort to establish the binational economic development zone to streamline trade and spur economic development. Thank you all for being here, and I'm looking forward to having our partnerships grow stronger and grow in a way that's positive for the entire region, not only in the state of Texas, but in the country of Mexico and in the entire Rio Grande Valley. Thank you. You know, we had the backdrop here. I don't know who remembers the last time, but last time it looked more like Star Trek. This time it looks like a sunrise. Well, when we went out there for the ribbon cutting for SpaceX and Mr. Elon Musk was out there, that moment in time struck to me, and there was actually a picture, I think, in the Brownsville Herald about him looking out into the ocean, and Elon Musk was looking into the waves of Boca Chica Beach, and someone asked him and says, "So, Mr. Elon, what do you see?" And because he is Elon Musk, he said, "The future." That's pretty, that's kind of heady, and I guess that's why he's Elon Musk and I'm not. I probably would have thought of this. I wish I'd have thought about PayPal, but I may not be here today. Okay, no, but the truth of the matter is, if you think about the wisdom of that young man, and he is a young man, but that wisdom has been in our families for a long time. It's been passed down by our mothers, our abuelitas, and on down the line. The difference being is that they didn't see the future in Boca Chica Beach. They saw the future in education. And nothing honors the dreams of our mothers and our abuelitas more than the University of Texas having a permanent home in a downtown campus in Brownsville, Texas. For all the children of parents who didn't have the opportunity to go to college, but happily made those sacrifices so that their children could, the university says to them, this could be you. In Brownsville, you'll often hear people wishing we had what other towns have. But you know what? Other cities would die to have what we have in the University of Texas. It baffles me sometimes, and I go like, really? Says, what do we get out of this relationship? A college education, according to statistics, is estimated to provide $2.1 million more in lifetime earnings. That's a little bit of change. And here's the deal. The greatest predictor of a child's likelihood going to college is whether their parents went to college. At the University of Texas at Brownsville, 1 out of 2 students are first-generation college students. So what does that mean? That means we're not only transforming their lives, we're transforming the family lives for generations to come. So when I think about it, our mothers and our abuelitas knew what they were talking about. In our region with the UTRGV, the Edinburgh City Council voted unanimously to hand over a deed to a 10-acre tract, stadium, skyboxes, and all to the incoming UTRGV and the medical school. And they said proudly, this donation will be repaid tenfold with the growth of jobs and this new university and medical school. So I suggest to you in Brownsville, we need to resolve any hurdles to allow us any institutions of learning to move forward and grow. And I stand here before you and tell you this with the bottom of my heart. I will make no apology for doing what it takes to ensure a kid growing up in the southmost area can look up and see the brightest of futures staring her or him right in the face. That future, I'm telling you, grows brighter by the day. I talked to Dr. Francisco Fernandez, our Dean of Medical School, this past week. And he says, you know, I want you to give a little tidbit out to the audience because I can't be there. He says, you know, our medical school needs to go through 4 steps to be fully accredited by 2020. And as of last week, I'm proud to share with you that the UT-RGV School of Medicine achieved candidate status, which is the first step towards preliminary accreditation. So I want, in his absentia, congratulate Dr. Fernandez and his team for this important milestone. This is the progress that we need at all levels. And so by 2020, the way they're going, we shall have a medical school. So let's give them a thanks. So let's kind of take stock one more time. With the Rosaka restoration, we're digging deeper. With SpaceX and Stargate, we're aiming higher. With Westrail and an integrated plan to move cargo and trade, we're sending a message that we're ready to be equal partners in a new business ventures. And by preserving the downtown campus and being good partners with UT-RGV, we're saying to businesses around the world that you will love us for more than our beauty and brawn. You will love us for our brains, because we're building together a brighter future with higher paying jobs for all of our Brownsville family. Before I move on, let me just kind of indicate to you that I've introduced to you the Stargate students. That's part of our future. You've been introduced to the ambassadors, but I'm going to bring out the Hannah High School Varsity Men's Choir one more time. And before I do that, I'd like to give the young people, the future of our city, a round of applause, because they will be the future. While they're standing up here, I wanted you to also know that we joined about 100 other cities in a project called Your Brother's Keeper. And Your Brother's Keeper is a $200 million private investment that is here to help young people like this to finish their school. And it's, you know, it's basically going from cradle to career. So as they're marching up here, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why these fellows are here. I happened to go to Hannah High School for a visit. I think I visited every high school in this town, just to kind of encourage these young people to do the things that young people need to do, and that needs to lead the Brownsville in the future. But while I was there, Gene, the choir director, told me, Mayor, this group wants to sing you a song. And the song you're about to hear, and you will see a young man that's going to narrate why this song was ever written and where it came from. But I was so moved and touched that I said, you know what, Gene, I want Brownsville to hear this, and I hope that after you listen to this, you'll feel the same way and somehow or another convey the beauty and the wonderfulness and the thoughtfulness of this group. So, Gene, it's all yours.
The Holocaust is a stunning reminder of the tragic results of prejudice and hate toward other people. But it is also a reminder that hope held firm will eventually reign victorious over the greatest of odds. The following words are inscribed on the walls of a cellar in Cologne, Germany, where Jews were hiding from the Nazis during World War II. Hope was all they had to hold on to. Hope was their only bridge to a brighter tomorrow.
Don't forget to sit where you all were seated, okay?
Even when it is not shining, and I believe in love, even when there's no one there, and I believe in God, even when He is silent, I believe through any trial, there is always a way. But sometimes in this suffering and hopeless despair, my heart cries for shelter, to know someone's there. But a voice rises within me, saying, hold on, my child. I'll give you strength, I'll give you hope. Just stay a little while. I believe in the sun, even when it is not shining, and I believe in love, even when there's no one there. But I believe in God, even when He is silent. I believe through any trial, there is always a way. May there someday be sunshine. May there someday be happiness. May there someday be love. May there someday be peace.
Is there more? Is that it? That's it? Yeah. Another big thank you to the Varsity Men's Choir of Hannah High School. Thank you. As Mayor Martinez mentioned, we want the world to love us for our brains, and here are three shining examples of that from the Stargate program at the University of Texas in Brownsville. Right next to me is James Murray. Next to him is Aldo Fonrouge. And finally is Keith Bullard. Gentlemen, thank you for being with us here today. You know, growing up in Brownsville, back then, yes, I'm old, was a time when you were told that if you wanted to succeed in life, of course, you go get a college education, but you become an accountant, a teacher, an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer. We didn't hear much about going into space or physics or those kinds of things. And where did I end up? I didn't do any of those. I went into TV instead. You all are the bright minds of the future. Tell us a little bit about yourselves and what prompted you all to get into this particular field. James, I'll start with you.
Hi, I'm originally from Brownsville. I went to Porter High School, and I've always been interested in engineering, but what really got me to where I am today is I had a teacher that told me about physics and what you can do with it, and said, hey, here's this program that exists in Brownsville. You should apply here. You should consider coming here because it's really great. And that's what I ended up doing.
Well, you're not only just a physics graduate, you're an undergraduate, you're a graduate, and you're pursuing your doctorate in it too soon.
Yes, I'm gonna, after I finish my master's degree, I'm gonna hopefully at UTRGV go go get a PhD.
Very good. How about yourself, Aldo? Pass the mic for me.
Well, I grew up in Matamoros up until I was about 12. Then I was able to come live here in Brownsville.
You went to St. Joe, correct?
Yes, and I went to St. Joseph Academy. And since I was a kid, it was always my father's dream that I become a medical doctor. But as I grew up and I started exploring for myself, it came to the point where during my senior year, a professor invited me to the graduation of the ARC scholars of that year, and I learned about this program, and I said, this is incredible. I have to be a part of this. This is something that I'm really passionate about. So.
Was your dad okay with that, changing career paths?
Yes, he was. He likes that, that I'm pursuing something I'm passionate about.
Very good. How about your passion over there, Keith?
So my name is Keith Bowler. I graduated from Simon Rivera High School. I originally was going to go into the business magnet there, but then I discovered I had a really passion for math, and then I took my first physics course in high school, and I figured there I'll have all the math problems I want and the ones I don't.
That's awesome. And okay, now you got physics, now you got math, now you got space technology and all. Why? Why that? Why Stargate?
Well, it gives us hands-on experience into the industry, something that other universities cannot offer. I mean, many of my colleagues who were seniors with me went off to other universities such as UTSA, UT Austin, even out of state. And while they might have all these wonderful little distractions that they can attend, I get to have something on my resume that'll make me much more marketable.
Awesome. That is awesome to hear. Aldo?
For me, Stargate isn't just the gateway to the stars. It's the gateway to, for opportunity, especially for people here of the Rio Grande Valley. And I think that students here should take advantage before other people from out of here do take that opportunity.
With Stargate and with SpaceX, are you seeing that, James? Are you seeing your fellow students also showing more interest in going to this particular field?
Oh, definitely. It's really starting to change the way different students are trying to become a part of this. It's not just science, physics. It's also engineering. It's also business, commercialization. Is all part of the Stargate project. It's really getting everybody involved in this amazing opportunity we have here.
Getting everybody involved. Good segue right there too, because this will obviously, you're going to be helped out by this in your careers. How is this Stargate, how is SpaceX, all this new technology, these new career paths that people can take, at UTRGV here in Brownsville, how is that going to benefit our community? Final question.
So, I really think it's going to change the culture. It's going to change the community here in a way that everyone's going to want to come here. Everyone's going to want to stay here. Everyone's going to say, hey, there's UT Austin, but there's UT RGV here in the Valley, and that's just as good. That's great. That's better. That's going to be where you want to go.
You're ready to fly off into space?
If they'll let me. My eyesight's terrible, but...
Aldo?
Yeah, I also think that it's going to change the culture of young students that think they have to get out of here, and it's going to change to we're going to stay here because we want to stay here and contribute to our community.
And finally, Keith.
I think it'll lead to more than just having a bachelor's into your education, because many jobs today require much more than that. I once did a job search just out of curiosity, just to see what you're gonna need, you know? And they had 2 columns, one that said the minimal requirements and the preferred. The minimal, it said have your appropriate bachelor's degree in this, have experience in this, and it would seem like they're describing the perfect person that nobody's gonna have, but you know. And then they had the preferred, and it simply stated have a PhD. So I think it'll inspire more people to go farther to the highest ends possible.
Well, all 3 of you have inspired us here today. How about a big round of applause for our Stargate scholars here? Please stand up. They are truly igniting the future of Brownsville and the future of Texas. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Appreciate it. Also igniting the future of Brownsville and Texas is a group called the Brownsville Chamber of Commerce. And here to talk a little bit about that is the executive director of the Brownsville Chamber, Maria Hall.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm humbled to have the opportunity to be a part of this event, celebrating Brownsville. We've heard from the mayor, and we've heard from the exciting young Stargate researchers, Aldo, Keith, and James. Now it's time to hear from you, our business community and residents. I'm Maria Hall with the Brownsville Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber had a membership drive in September of last year. Its success was twofold. First of all, we recruited over 100 volunteers that got so fired up about all the great things happening in Brownsville and the work the Chamber was doing for the community that in 3 days, they brought in 166 new members to the Chamber. We have our #1 sales team, Nacho Garza, is here. I'm so glad that he was able to attend from IBC. We currently have over 800 members, and our goal is to keep these members engaged and to continue to grow our membership back to 1,000 plus in the next 18 to 24 months. But the Chamber can only be as successful as the Brownsville community. We continue to work collaboratively with all the entities to be catalysts in economic development, higher education, workforce training, infrastructure development, and the advocates that are needed for our community. Together, we're all stronger. As the voice of the business community, our mission is to bring more voices to the table to ensure that we all have our say and that we all do our part to shape Brownsville's future. As the mayor reminded us, the future is not a gift, it's an achievement. Recently, we rediscovered a time capsule from October 17th, 1926. It had been placed at the foundation of the first chamber building that was originally located on Levy and 12th Street next to the El Jardín Hotel. It was first discovered in June 24th of 1970 when the original building was torn down. It holds some great interesting information of the happenings of Brownsville during that era. We also found some 60mm films that we believe are from events and functions of the early 1900s. A recent rediscovery will likely be a new exhibit at the museum later this year. We would also like to work with the city to create a new time capsule this year in 2015 to commemorate the centennial anniversary of our city charter. As a starting point, I'd like to invite all of you to take a part in this little project. Inspired by a public art project in Mexico City, El Muro de los Buenos Deseos, we want to invite you to take part in the Brownsville Wall of Dreams. At your tables, you'll see that there's a container that has ribbons and Sharpies. Now, I will warn you, some of the Sharpies are the thicker Sharpies, so please use the program as you write on them so it doesn't go through to the tablecloth, and there's also the thin ones. But hopefully today's discussion has stirred up some thinking about what it'll take to secure Brownsville's future. So take a ribbon and a pen and write down what you hope for Brownsville. Maybe you have a specific policy idea that you think needs to be addressed. Maybe it's something that relates to workforce development. Maybe it's a needed infrastructure project. Maybe you want to challenge your fellow citizen, for example, to be a youth mentor. This is your opportunity to dream big for Brownsville. I believe Napoleon Hill says it best: whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Youth ambassadors from the Brownsville ISD will be coming around the table to collect your ribbons and post them on the wall that we have over here. Over the next few weeks and months, we'll be sharing your ideas, your goals, and challenges to help keep this conversation going. A strong community is one where everyone participates and everyone is listened to. I again encourage you to write down your big dream for Brownsville. We know that without a vision, the people will perish, and to whom much is given, much is expected. Brownsville is so very rich in abundant blessings. We all have the right to be heard, and your voice matters. So what are you passionate about? What could make a difference in Brownsville? Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Your opinion matters. So do I see you getting those ribbons out and those pens? Ah, okay. Yes. And there should be enough there at all the tables. Students, this is for you too. If you're back there on one of those tables, to get those ribbons out. And the Sharpie pens, remember, for the thicker pens, just put them on the program so they don't run through the tablecloth. As I mentioned earlier, our goal is to grow our membership back to 100 plus or 1,000 plus members. If you're not currently a member of the Chamber, I invite you to learn more about us at brownsvillechamber.com. You can talk to one of our board members or myself. I have several board members in our audience today. We're all here to help you get involved. One of the Chamber's goals is to foster a sense of community among all of our business leaders to keep Brownsville moving forward with more jobs and more opportunities for our children, our community, and our businesses. Please save the date of March 11th. The Chamber is proud to be co-sponsoring the 2015 South Texas Inaugural Business Opportunity Forum with UTRGV. This workshop is being presented by the Procurement Technical Assistance Center and will be held at the Gran Salon at UTB. It is similar to the vendor fair being held next week by SpaceX. At our March event, local businesses can learn how to do business with local, state, and federal agencies. We currently have commitments from procurement offices of our city here in Brownsville, the B Metro, our ISD, UTRGV, State Comptroller's Office, and HUD, and additional agencies continue to be confirmed for a great kickoff for this annual event that's being sponsored by the university. I'm glad that I hear some talking. I hear some of you talking. I want to make sure everyone takes part in the opportunity to write down your dream for Brownsville. The quality of life in Brownsville is the key to our continued success. We have an abundance of opportunity ahead of us. Let me see if we have any ribbons. If you have some ribbons filled out so the students can pick those up from you, because we'd like to begin putting those on our wall. Once your ribbon is filled out, please hand it up. I see Mariana waving one over here, so I need one of our students to pick those up. I need some color on that black wall. I want to make sure we don't let anyone walk away without filling out a ribbon. We've got some ribbon. I see a little bit of color on the wall. This wall represents our optimisms and desires for our great city. Thank you so very much. We at the Brownsville Chamber of Commerce look forward to keeping this conversation going.
All right. Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you. While you're fiddling around your tables too, just take 15 seconds of time here and ask each other about your birthday. Tell each other what your birthday is, pardon me. Yeah, thanks, Arturo. Just tell each other your birth date. All right, you already did that? At each table, whose birthday is coming up next? Whoever's got the birthday that's coming up next gets to take home the rocket that's in the middle of the table. All the rest of you get the parting gifts, the little bags that are there in the middle of your table, okay? Now please welcome to the stage with some closing remarks. We're almost done. We want to get you all out of here by 1:30. We promise to be respectful of your time. Please welcome back to the stage Brownsville Mayor, the Honorable Tony Martinez.
I wanted to make an announcement real quick. I just got from the bulletin. It says Carlos Cascos has just been confirmed. So, in closing, what I'd like to do just simply this. I hope that I have conveyed to you the message that you are part of what needs to happen. You are Brownsville and you are loved. So I really would encourage each and every one of you to take a little stock and say, you know, how can I contribute to this effort? Because if you like what you see, there's more of it. So we need to do that. And then the last thing is, you know, an assembly like this is not an easy thing to put together. So the attitude of gratitude that I have for all the people that served the meal, for all the people that prepared the meal, for all the people who did all the decorations from the city, as well as my staff and everyone else, my heartfelt thanks to you all, and my heartfelt thanks to all of you who are here. And I want to get you back to work, but not really. So thank you again. Appreciate it.